She graduated from the Art Institute of Phoenix with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Media Arts and Animation. Jamie is most proud of her time spent navigating the muddy waters of Japanese manga publication. In other words, the time when she was employed by TK Works Shueisha to assist artist Takeshi Konomi on his manga, The Prince of Tennis. She subsequently wrote a book about that experience. Jamie is currently working on a few projects, the most dear to her of which is her first manga, Denkiki, which explores what it means to grow up alone in the world. Please welcome Jamie Lano.
So, yes, like Stephen said, I used to work in Japan in a manga studio, and the manga that I worked for was one of the most popular manga in the entire country at the time, and still to an extent enjoys quite a bit of popularity. Here is a picture of me in the studio way back when, just a couple of years ago, I suppose. I started out as a fan, just like most of you here maybe, or maybe as you're getting into it now. So I started loving manga in high school. I started, actually, I'm going to backtrack just a little bit. So this is the manga I worked on, and this is called The Prince of Tennis. It inspired quite a lot of media, entertainment publications, the most common of which was things like this. So it was actually written for an audience of boys, but it was picked up by all of the young, active girls out there who loved like gay manga. So they made a lot of what's called Dojinshi, and through that, it kind of exploded all over the country. So we had things like CDs and a 200-episode anime series, an animated movie, a live-action movie, a series of musicals that's ran for more than 5 years now. And we're talking like once every 2 months or so. They make millions and millions of dollars, all kinds of goods, and the group that I work for, or the man that I work for, Takeshi Konomi, he's a multimillionaire from this somewhat small original comic. So I feel very pleased that I was able to work with him and to contribute to something that I also enjoyed dearly. So I grew up in like a normal, boring old house in Washington State, nothing exciting, just like art. I eventually discovered Sailor Moon, and then kind of fell in love with, see, here's me being normal. Alright, so I first fell in love with this comic called Elf Quest, which back in the 70s actually started. So back before I was even born, the artist Wendy Pini took a lot of her own influence from Japanese manga, although I didn't know that at the time. Through completely falling in love with that, I found Sailor Moon when it was playing on USA, I think it was, way before Cartoon Network ever picked it up. And I used to come home from school every day and watch it like religiously. If I missed an episode, I would have thrown a fit. So that kind of was a springboard for, watching more and more, falling in love with more and more series, and then eventually becoming the president of the anime club at the school next door to mine in college, because mine didn't have one, sadly enough. So right after graduation, I was like, hey, you know what? I don't know what I want to do with my life, so I'm going to go to Japan. And the only way I could find to do that at the time was to teach English. So I worked in both conversation schools that you see on the left here, and then eventually in elementary schools. And let me tell you, when you grow up reading manga, being able to go to a Japanese elementary school was like the biggest treat in the world. Working there didn't mean anything to me. All I wanted to do was like watch the kids go through their normal routine, like cleaning and serving each other lunches and all of the things that you do in a Japanese school. It's so different than what we do here in the US, and it was quite exciting for me. But when I moved to Japan, I never thought that I would end up working in the manga industry. To me, as Audra talked about, like, I thought manga was a Japanese thing, and it was not something that I could ever do because I wasn't Japanese. You know, I was in Japan, but that was the closest that I would ever get to this. But I had a friend who encouraged me to apply for this opening that she saw, which was for the Prince of Tennis. So they asked us to write, like, to copy 2 pages out of the manga. So I did, and this is what it looked like. The pictures aren't the best quality, so I have a slightly better one here. So I copied 2 of the pages, and I never ever drawn manga in my life. I didn't use the right tools, I didn't know what I was doing, but I ended up getting the job somehow and came to the studio. This became one of the best and most difficult things I've ever done. To put a bit of a human spin on this, manga is not an easy thing. It requires you working all day, every day, as hard as you can. And in our case, 5 and sometimes 6 people, it would take us 2 or 3 weeks in order to make a 32-page chapter. We had to not just, ink the lines that our sensei had kind of blocked in with pencil, but we had to research backgrounds, we had to create backgrounds, we had to create like the looks of side characters, we had to draw all kinds of very, very small items, and all of those had to be researched, all of those had to be realistic and often redrawn, and we would stay in the studio and work for 16 hours without much of, only eating, breaks to eat or go to the bathroom, and then just go to bed, wake up, do the exact same thing over and over again for weeks on end. And at first it was a dream come true. Best thing I'd ever done. That eventually did grow a bit harrowing, especially when I realized that I could no longer have a life. Or how about the time I got a tooth infection and I couldn't take care of it because I had no time to go home, or I didn't know when I was going to be available, so I couldn't make appointments. I moved into a new apartment during this time, and I bought a refrigerator, and the delivery men called me, and I had to ask them to hold it so that I could come, so that I could have them delivered another day, because again, we weren't done, so I couldn't go home, and it was quite the experience. So I did bring some tools with me today, but I feel like we're not going to really be able to see them from far away, so I tried to make a few slides. So this is the main tool of a manga artist. This is called a maru pen. Makes the smallest lines, so we use it for details, we use it for speed lines, those kind of lines that show your character running or some kind of action happening. It's incredibly difficult to use, especially if you want to get like a fluid line. It's almost impossible. I really was bad at that, but I'd never used it before, so I had to learn this on the job. Something else we do is called screen cones, which we do not have here, unfortunately, because this is one of the best things ever. So here we might do something like this digitally by coloring gray over our area, or we might use like a gray marker in order to delineate where the shadows are. But in Japan they have these sticky sheets that are slightly transparent. So you cut out around an area that you want shaded, and it's filled with small dots. And then you stick it onto your paper, and you can scrape away to make things like highlights. It's pretty easy to use, but it's really expensive. An 11 by 14 sheet of screen cone can cost like more than $5. And if you're making 32 pages that have a lot of screen cone on them, you can imagine how that would add up very quickly, especially because you are paid by the page in Japan, and that rate is usually only around $100 or ichimanen or something. So you're getting maybe $3,200 a month, and you have to pay 5 assistants out of that as well. So all of the money comes from residuals or collected graphic novel purchases. So this is another tool we use. This is called Copic Markers. A lot of us use them here, as do I. This is one of my favorite tools. The good thing about Copic Markers is they come in like a million colors, and they have a brush on one end. So instead of getting a very solid line like you would with a normal marker like Crayola, these ones are able to blend. Anything you can do with a brush, you can pretty much do with the brush tip on a Copic marker. These are absolutely indispensable. Alright, so, let me see what's next. Okay, so I just wanted to talk a little bit, like putting a human face on this whole story. So, this is my Prince of Tennis, and I worked there for 2 years and eventually left because I felt like I was spending more time there than I was on my own life, and I really wanted to have my own life. I'm sure most of you understand how that could get pretty frustrating, not being able to do anything ever, or have relationships, or pets, or any kind of a social life at all. It was a great experience though, and like everyone has been, like Audra and Stephen were talking about, like manga means a lot to me, and I would give almost anything to continue to work in it, but not every day, and so that's why I left, and that's why I'm here. I want to say it is very hard, but as a foreigner, as someone who thought that I could never work in that world, I did it, so can you.